Welcome to 7 Skills for the Future podcast. My name is Emma Sue Prince, and this podcast is based on the internationally selling book by the same name. This book focuses on 7 important skills. They are adaptability, critical thinking, empathy, integrity, being proactive, being optimistic, and being resilient. And this podcast is all about how you can bring these skills into your everyday life so that you are living a life full of happiness, full of purpose, great relationships, doing work that you love, and just really getting the most out of life. Welcome to episode 3 of series 5. It's lovely to have you with us, and I'm joined today by my producer, James.
Hello, Emma Sue, and hello, everyone. So in today's episode, I think we're going to talk about the importance of joy. What do you mean by joy? What does joy mean to you?
Well, I think joy is something that's really deep inside us, and it's something that I feel we possess very strongly when we're children and when we're younger, but we kind of lose sight of it. So, and by that, I think I mean that we don't really allow ourselves to experience joy in the same way that we do when we're kids. And we don't really ever try and tap into it. And I think joy is such a lovely word as well. So when I think of being joyful, it kind of makes me think of being in flow, movement, and it's got a deep connection with happiness.
There's an element of joy, that kind of euphoria, right? It's more than just being happy. It's losing yourself in the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, may seem obvious maybe, but we should clarify. Why do we need joy in our lives?
I think it's hugely important because it's not so unlike happiness or other feelings, joy really isn't tied to any kind of external circumstances. So if you can nurture it, then you really are tapping into a kind of lasting contentment, and you can have that no matter what is going on around you. So, I just feel we need that more than ever these days, because it's so easy to get swayed by what's going on in the news, by an upsetting situation, negativity. And I just think joy transcends all of that. And it's also great because it really is something that you can tap into when you want to. So you can create joy for yourself. And that gives you a real sense of control. And when we have a sense of control, we just feel better. We're more proactive in our lives. And it really supports us on very many different levels.
For me, I feel joy mostly when I listen to music, especially when it's live music. There's something kind of special about the whole communal experience, and I just love music so much. So, what brings you joy in your life?
Well, I think yes, music as well, definitely, and any kind of, because when you were talking about that, it made me think of going to the theatre and live performances. So I think those do help us to experience joy. But I think it's also, for me, it's about very simple things. So I find that, and I've noticed this the more that I practice gratitude as well, that actually when I look back at what I've written about, it's usually really simple things like just being out in nature or chatting to somebody, really simple things do give me joy.
Okay. So happiness has been very trendy in the last few years, and how to bring happiness into your lives. How would you reflect on that and how it interacts with this idea of joy?
Well, yeah, happiness is a huge topic, and it's quite a difficult thing to measure, and it's, governments do try to measure it, but it's a spectrum, it's not an absolute. So there is a whole science behind our happiness levels and why they fluctuate so much and what we can do to boost them. But I think also we spend a bit too much time and energy on this idea of pursuing happiness. The more we do that, it can actually decrease your happiness, ironically. So I think happiness is something, it is more about a state of being, and it's more about a number of small conscious steps that you can take that elevates your mood. So you really want to be able to do that with minimal effort. And I think when we tap into joy, that's exactly what we do. For me, also, happiness, I think, is about, and there's research to support this as well, but happiness is about trying out new things. And that's quite interesting, because the research has shown that if you participate in new activities, bold activities, and collect unique experiences, then you're much more likely to retain positive memories than negative ones. And the more positive memories that you have, the lighter you become. So, and also you might stumble across something that you really, really love. So that's happened to me this past year. I started jazz singing. I mean, I've always sung, but I started doing jazz singing, and I never dreamt that it would fill me with such joy. And it really does. And the best thing about that singing lesson that I've committed to now every week, the very best thing about it is that it's bang in the middle of the week. It's on a Wednesday at 12 noon, and it gives me something to look forward to. And again, with happiness, the more things you have to look forward to, the happier you'll be. So it's like booking a holiday. You know, the run up and looking forward to the holiday is a huge part. It's often bigger than the actual holiday in terms of happiness levels. So yeah, there's lots of things we can do to increase our experience of happiness. But I think probably the most important thing is to be consciously choosing things in the moment that bring us joy.
Do you think joy contributes to our optimism? I mean, is there a relationship between those two things?
Yeah, definitely, because, I believe that we can build our optimism skills, but it is about conscious choices. And I think joy plays a huge part in that. And having this attitude of being grateful makes us much more appreciative and trusting. And I think that is very good, that allows us to tap into joy if we can just learn to be grateful. So that's a big part of being optimistic. And I think also, we tend to move so quickly through life, and we take some of the simple things for granted. And I think, like I said earlier on, these are often the things that tap into our feelings of joy. So when you're more present, the simpler things become joyful. The food you eat, the air you breathe, the sounds of nature, those become part of your joyful experience, and those things will tap into the skill of optimism. So, and when we do that, when we nurture that optimism, we are more resilient and we're more proactive. And there's so many things you can do to boost optimism. So it's, joyful experiences, reframing situations, giving the benefit of the doubt, being kind, being gracious, generous, grateful. And really, who doesn't want to be around an optimistic person?
It seems to me that an element of joy, in order to experience joy, you need to experience some kind of release, right? You have to be, you can't be weighed down by the pressures and thoughts of things that are not more negative thoughts. It's part of the process of experiencing joy is that feeling where it's just all positivity. And so it seems to me that perhaps by bringing these elements of joy into your life, then by definition you have to kind of release a lot of the things that are causing you problems.
Yeah, I think that happens naturally. I think you become more relaxed, and perhaps you don't sort of choose to see them as big problems. I mean, every day will have something in it that you don't enjoy or don't like, but that doesn't have to mean that your whole day is dictated by that one event.
So, okay, on a practical level then, what can we do to bring some joy into our day-to-day?
So this is all about making a conscious choice and planning for it. So this is the interesting thing about it, because research shows that if we plan for joy and joyful experiences, it'll give us a huge boost. So you don't need to wait for the weekend or wait till work's finished or the evening. You plan for it now, so short positive experiences. So things like connecting with nature, quietening your mind, practicing gratitude, and as I said before, when you practice gratitude consistently and over time, it's always the simplest things that we're grateful for, always.
Yeah.
So little things like spending time with someone close to us, walking, going for walks. If you've got pets, that's great for bringing some joy into your day. But also things like just being kind to other people and smiling and paying compliments bring you joy. So it's not necessarily always about treating yourself. You could be treating somebody else, and that will give you joy. So it's consciously planning it into your day and planning things like short breaks. So many people just don't take breaks. They just work for hours and hours, and then they don't sort of take proper breaks. So planning a very short break, a small piece of chocolate or whatever you enjoy, just something which gives you a little bit of joy, a little bit of a joyful experience. And things like, if you can get outside in nature every single day, if there's any way that you can do that, the research on that is massive about how much that boosts well-being. But also coming back to what you said at the beginning about music, definitely things like dancing, singing, music tap into joy. And if we have any sort of way that we can bring that into your day, into the day, whether it's just listening to music rather than playing music yourself, but that's actually shown to be hugely beneficial. And it really is about making time for joy. And all I have to say about that is, if you think about the time that we spend or waste online or scrolling, and substitute that time for a bit of joy, the time is there.
I think I'm going to go and close the blinds now and do a little dance in my bedroom.
Definitely, yeah.
But I'm definitely closing the blinds. Well, hopefully we've brought everyone a little bit of joy into their day with this episode, but I think that brings us to an end, Emma Sue.
Yes, so thank you very much for listening, and I hope this episode encourages you to plan for some joy right now, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you for listening to the 7 Skills for the Future podcast. There are all sorts of things you can do to boost each of the 7 skills. If you want more ideas, you can buy the book, 7 Skills for the Future. You can also go online to our website, Unimentor, and join as a member, and you'll be able to access more resources, ideas, and free downloads. If you have a question you want to ask on these podcasts, get in touch through Instagram at 7 Skills for the Future, or on Twitter and Facebook at Unimentor. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your podcast player of choice.